On this episode, From the Bayou to the World, it's all about crawfish. We're going to do a little etouffee. We're going to do some crawfish hush puppies, and we're going to do a little crawfish and sausage pasta. You don't want to miss this. Coffee's on. Y'all come on in. Thanks for stopping by the kitchen, guys. Welcome to From the Bayou to the World. I'm Kurt, and we're doing crawfish tonight. Before we get started, we need to thank our sponsors, Gilda's Greatest Foods, makers of Louisiana Love. If you ain't cooking with Louisiana Love, your crawfish isn't as good as it could be. So, hey, we're going to talk about one of the oldest dishes in the Cajun repertoire, crawfish Etoufee, how to make it and how not to make it. Then we're going to do something a little different, some crawfish hush puppies, which are fantastic. We're going to serve that with a hot honey drizzle, out of this world. And we're going to concentrate on one of the newer Cajun dishes, which is crawfish and usually tasso, but we're going to use smoked sausage in a pasta, in a penne pasta and cream sauce. Fantastic dish, very, very easy. Everybody's going to love it. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get this cleaned up, and when you come back, it's time to start cooking. We'll see you in a few. Welcome back to From the Bayou to the World. We're talking about crawfish, and the first dish we're going to tackle is etouffee. It's been around for 100 years, 200 years since the Acadians got here, maybe even before that. Etouffee means smothered. So really, we use it for crawfish, but shrimp, you could etouffee chicken, you could etouffee anything. It just means smothered. So let's talk about the three most common ways to make etouffee. The first one is what we're going to do tonight, which is a traditional smothered onions and butter. That's really the only two ingredients besides the crawfish. It's that simple. And then you have, some people like to use a blonde roux. And if you watched our roux episode a couple shows ago, we told you all about peanut butter roux, blonde roux, dark roux. The peanut butter roux is the one that people like to use for etouffee. And then you got these things. Canned soup. Calling a foul. Ooh, no, don't use that. So the way this came to be was World War II. A bunch of women started working, joining the workforce to help the war effort. And as a result, they didn't have as much time to stay home. So there was a need for convenience items. So Campbell started making soup for everything. It didn't take long to adapt this to etouffee. Technically, it's still etouffee because it's smothered. But this in the world of etouffee, this is brand new. And I just do not like the flavor that these things give to food. They taste plastic. They taste pas bon. All right? So we're going to do it the old school way. The way I'm going to show you how to do it is the old St. Landry, I'm going to call it the St. Landry Parish method because that's where I'm from. And everybody I know that makes etouffee, this is how they make it. So it's very simple. It's just onions and butter. Now, when I was a petit garçon, Mama used to use margarine, or like they called oleo sometimes, because it was much, much cheaper than real butter. And look, it was fine, but there's nothing like butter. There's nothing like butter. So we're going to use real butter, right? You can use garlic, but I kind of recommend against it. Garlic is a very, very strong flavor, and crawfish isn't. So you don't want those two things competing. Speaking of crawfish, make sure these are Louisiana farm-raised crawfish. Don't get them from anywhere else other than Louisiana local crawfish. These are so local. They're from about 10 miles from my house. You want to make sure that all that nice yellow stuff in there, that's the fat. It's not really fat, it's a gland, but we call it the fat, and it tastes really good. So when you get crawfish like this, they're cooked. So that's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they make etouffee. They overcook the crawfish. This has been cooked. This is how they produce them. They take the crawfish, they scald them, they cool them down, and then the workers take the meat out the tails. So this is a fully cooked product. There's no reason to let it sit into a cooking sauce for 20, 30, 40 minutes. What happens is you're going to cook all the water out of the crawfish tail. The protein's going to degenerate, and it gets that mealy, they'll turn kind of gray. That is some not good stuff. I'm going to start working on this onion while we talk a little bit more. So you want to make sure, this etouffee is simply an emulsion. And an emulsion is just joining together two things that don't like to be together. In this case, it's going to be the liquid from the crawfish, the moisture from the onions, and the fat from the butter. We're going to stir that all. We're going to force them together to make us a beautiful sauce. One of the biggest secrets of making this kind of etouffee is you want to cook your onions very slowly. Now, you don't want them to brown. Now, I'm glad this is on tape, because this may be the only time you ever hear me say, I don't want a brown onion. But this is one of them. The reason why is, whenever you brown onions, you're caramelizing them, and you're going to change the flavor of the onion. We don't want that. We want the natural flavor of the onion to come through. So we're going to cook it very slowly in butter. Now, it's going to start off a little quick, but we're going to get the fire down real quick. As soon as we start to see any type of browning, we're going to turn the fire down and just let it simmer until they become completely translucent and soft. Speaking of that, before we started, I put my pan on, and I got a nice little low heat right here. And the reason why I have that is, like I always say, we want to preheat our pan. We want to start getting warmed up. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and drop my butter in there. The magic recipe, the magic ratio for etouffee is, for every pound of crawfish, you use 1 stick of butter and 1 onion, 1 medium onion. That's it. That's the magic. That's the big secret. So you don't have to measure too much. So 1 stick of whole butter, unsalted. We use it unsalted because we want to be able to control that salt ourselves. I don't want whoever makes the butter to put the salt in for me. So cutting onions, just like we went over before, straight down. Turn it and go right across. You want a nice medium dice, just like that, right? Super easy. Do the other half. Charlie, my basset hound's down here. He's sniffing around for some scraps. Not yet, Charlie. Let me grab this. All right, our butter is not quite melted yet, so I'm going to turn our fire up. I'm going to go for about a medium high just to get things going. It's a nice little spoon. This is one of those roux spoons. It has that cut in on it right here. I love that. Be able to scrape the bottom of your pan, keep things moving around. So this is what's going to happen. Whenever you're going to add those onions in that butter, they're going to start to kind of fry a little bit. Not real hard. If they're cooking too much, turn the fire down. But the first thing that's going to happen is the onion is going to give up their water. The cell structure of the onion is going to fall apart, and then the water is going to release. We want to cook that water out. So that's why we're going to cook it nice and slow. We're going to get everything, all the water to leave, and I want just the onion. Then once the onion's there, we're going to have a bunch of sugar, because onions are full of sugar, and that's how onions brown. But that's what we need to be careful of. I don't want to brown them. I just want them nice and soft, clear. There's a little bit of color on them. That's fine. But I don't want caramelized onions. We're not making French onion soup. We're making etouffee. You can hear, if you can hear, I'm gonna put my mic right here. You hear that? That's the water and the butter that's coming out. So it's just about warm enough. Again, I don't want this brown. I don't want the butter brown. I don't want it all crazy. I just want enough. And you can say, man, Kurt, that's a lot of onions. Yes, it is. But that's what I want. They're going to cook down a lot. There you go. You hear just a little bit of sizzle. And you're going to give them a little stir. Get everything coated in butter. And you can see, so the sizzling kind of stopped. Why? Because I added a room temperature onion to a 325-degree pan of butter, and it dropped the temperature way down. So now we're going to work it back up. Now you're going to be tempted to crank the fire and get this thing going. Don't do that. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up browning the bottom of the onions before you realize what's going on. So just let it come back up to temperature, and it's going to start to sizzle. This process is going to take you about a half an hour, 40 minutes. You don't have to stir it constantly in the beginning, but as soon as the onions start to wilt, you're going to want to stir it frequently. And then as they cook, you're going to stir it more and more. Once all the water is gone, again, all you have left is sugar. So that's going to concentrate and it's going to want to brown. So you got to be careful of that. So while that's going, we're going to take a little break. When you come back, believe it or not, it's going to be almost time to finish this first dish. It's that easy. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Come on back because it's crawfish time. Welcome back to From the Bayou to the World. I'm Kurt. We cooking Etoufee. Come on in, let's finish this thing. All right, we have our beautiful Louisiana crawfish. Our onions are smothered down, and if you notice, I was cooking this while y'all were gone, and it started to get a little color on it, so I had to turn the fire all the way down to low. And that's okay. That's why it has a dial. It's okay to do that. But we got a nice little sizzle going here. Got to put a little love on it, put a little Louisiana love on there. And we're going to re-season a little bit for now. And then listen, whenever you put the crawfish, you got to milk the bag. What that means, fold it in half. And I want every single drop of this I could possibly get. All of it. Milk the bag. That's the good stuff. That's where the flavor lives. And then all you really have to do, now don't go crazy. Don't get in here like a bull in a china shop. Just stir them around, let everything get coated. And right before your eyes, you'll see that the fat is starting to combine right here. The fat is starting to combine with the butter, and it's making a sauce. It's making that emulsion I told you about. See right here? So you just stir it around. Now you want to let this cook for about 4 or 5 minutes. You want to let everything to come up to temperature. But again, like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, you don't want to go crazy with this. You don't want to continue to cook these. The crawfish is already, you can see they're already opaque. They're already curled up. They're already cooked. So there, I have everything coated. I'm going to get my fire back to a nice little medium. And I'm just going to let it sit for a couple minutes. And that's the dish. We're going to I got some nice rice in the pot. We're going to finish it with some rice and a little bit of green onions. And that's crawfish Etoufee. That's the whole thing. It takes about 30 minutes from start to finish, 45 once you finish smothering the onions. It's a super easy dish. It's incredibly delicious. It reheats well, but you just got to be, it really doesn't reheat well in the microwave because the microwave is so intense. It tends to break down the crawfish. But it reheats well in a skillet. It's just a simple, wonderful dish of staple of Cajun country. So listen, we're going to take another break, and then we're moving on to crawfish hush puppies. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be incredible. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Welcome back to From the Bayou to the World. We're moving right along. It's crawfish hush puppies time. So we've taken the traditional hush puppy recipe and we're going to adapt it for our beautiful Louisiana crawfish. If you're just joining us, it's crawfish night. We did a beautiful Etoufee a little while ago, and now we're doing our crawfish hush puppies. We'll go right into our pasta. right after this. So in the bowl, I have about a half a pound of crawfish tails that are roughly chopped. Okay, so if you leave them whole, they might be a little bit too big for the hush puppies themselves. So I just put a little rough chop on them. We're going to add a half a cup of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of cornmeal, like that, 1 egg. Now the recipe calls for salt and pepper. We're not doing salt and pepper. We're doing a little extra love. About a tablespoon, a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. This is going to be our leavening agent. This is what's going to make it rise. And the recipe also calls for some minced onion. We're not doing minced onion. We're doing green onions. Just like that. And then it calls for a half a cup of buttermilk. So that's what I have here. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, you can take regular milk and you can add a teaspoon of white vinegar in the bottom of the thing. Pour in the bottom of your cup, pour the milk over it, let it sit for about 15 minutes, and it's going to taste and act like buttermilk. It's not real buttermilk, but it's a good substitute. I use it for my biscuits sometimes. So right in there. And we're going to give it, now this should be a pretty stiff batter because hush puppies are a really stiff batter. You may have to add a tablespoon or so of oil. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll take a look. This is looking really, really, really good. So we have oil at 375 degrees, and it should be right there. Make sure you're using a thermometer for this because it'll run away from you. And you're going to end up with burnt hush puppies on the outside and raw on the inside. 2 tablespoons. Let's get to it. Okay, like this. Right in. Boom. 1, 2. Do not overcrowd your pot because it's going to plummet your oil temperature. 3, 4. We're going to go for an even half dozen. 5. You see how they poofing up? Look at that. That's the baking powder, the baking soda working. And 6. There we go. We're going to let that cook for a second. I'll grab me a little plate right here so we can put them on. And I have a strainer. So how long to cook them for today, Brown? It's going to take about 2, maybe 3 minutes. Look at that. Boy, these things look yummy. So, okay, so you see like right here, this is still blonde. You could try and give them a little turn. They may not turn. They may go back, but give them a little turn just to make sure we're getting all the sides. Ooh, boy, that's GBD, golden brown delicious. Look at that. Almost done. I'm going to grab me a couple of paper towels real quick. It's really important to drain something like this once it's done frying. The reason why is because if you let it sit in the grease, eventually the grease will work its way back into the hush puppy. Look at the color we got right here, man. Lord. Just like that, guys. That took almost no time. Huh? Look at the color on this. And you have the beautiful green onions in there. Now, we're going to make, a little while, we're going to make a hot honey to drizzle on top of this to give us a little level of sweetness and a little extra spiciness on the back. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be in the plate up. But for right now, we're going to move right into our pasta. We're doing a crawfish and sausage pasta. We would normally do tasso, but we're using sausage for a specific reason. Normally this dish is made with tasso, which is a highly seasoned and smoked lean ham. But we're going to use some sausage because it lends a little bit of fat to it. It's what I had in my refrigerator, and it has a very smoky flavor that I really like. So let's get right to it. So we have a pot. We have 2 tablespoons of butter and about 1.5 tablespoons of neutral oil. Half an onion and 2 cloves of garlic. And again, we don't really want to brown this. We just want to kind of sweat them out a little bit. And while that's going, I'm gonna add my sausage to it also because I want to render some of that fat out, but I want the flavor of that fat to stay in my dish. So we're gonna let that cook. So you're gonna give this about 3 or 4 minutes of cooking down and rendering. Again, you don't want to brown anything necessarily. You just want the sausage to start to turn a little brown, a little bit of color, but give up some of its fat. Then we're gonna add our mushrooms. Now, whenever you add the mushrooms, they're gonna soak up all the oil in the pan, and it's gonna get real dry. But then they're gonna release their liquid, and it's gonna get right again. But this comes together real quick because as soon as we add our mushrooms, we're coming right back with a little bit of vin blanc, some white wine. We're gonna get our mushrooms a little bit of time in the heat. And then also remember, we still have a little bit of liquid in our crawfish. We're gonna use about, in this particular dish, we're gonna use about 1 pound of crawfish, and it's fat. So you can see already, the mushrooms are taking up most of the liquid right there. We're gonna let them sit for a little while, and then we're going to hit them with a little bit of white wine, and then we're gonna introduce our crawfish, and we're gonna season it up, and then cream and our pasta, and it's gonna come together just that quick. This whole dish takes about 20-25 minutes from start to finish, not counting your prep time. So really easy. About 1/2 cup, and we're gonna let that cook till it reduces down to about half. And what that means is you can see how it's really nice and liquidy now. We're gonna let that cook down, cook the alcohol out until it thickens a little bit and there's not nearly as much liquid in here. So to where it's just gonna be covering the bottom of the pot. Gonna let that cook a little bit. And here we are with everything. This is how it all comes together. Look at our beautiful Etoufee. Nice white rice. Our beautiful crawfish Etoufee, St. Landry Parish style. We have our crawfish, sausage, and penne pasta. Fantastic. So this is a traditional fettuccine dish that you may hear, but there's no cheese in this. It's just, we seasoned it up. We added our cream. We thickened it up and added, mixed in our pasta, and there it is. And then this is our beautiful hot honey on our incredible crawfish hush puppies. Look at that, boy. Look at the color of this thing right here. This is delicious. This is local honey, and this is some of my homemade hot sauce. Use whatever hot sauce you want. Look at that. Beautiful. Hey, thank you so much. We got to thank our sponsors, Gilbert's Greatest Foods, makers of Louisiana Love. Thank you so much for stopping by the kitchen. The coffee's always on. Be sure and come back whenever you want. The door ain't never locked. Make some of these. Make some of these. This is crawfish. You are absolutely going to love it. Join us next time.